Welcome, Dearest. This is Plots and Reviews, the space to discuss all things plot and get your weekly dose of stories. If you're new, hi, I'm Bree, your host. Keep in mind that you're welcome to share your views in the comments and remember to check for spoiler tags. Without further ado, let's get started. Today we are talking about 5 books that let me down over the past month or so. Let me preface this by saying that these books would definitely appeal to many. They have many interesting components and parts, but they disappointed me overall. They didn't do as well as my brain and heart would have wanted them to do. In other words, they had amazing potential, but the execution wasn't done to what I had hoped it could be done to. The books that recently disappointed my heart were Freaks by Brett Riley, Must Love Books by Shauna Robinson, Pennyblade by J.L. Worrad, The Will and the Wilds by Charlie N. Holmberg, and Saint That's Daughter by C.S.E. Cooney. So let's have a look. I'll give you an overview of the book, tell you what I expected and what I got, and why that was a disappointment. I'm honestly so sad about this because I really had hopes. Freaks by Brett Riley. When reading a randomly found grimoire, 4 young teens, nerds/geeks, summon aliens instead of demons. The kids are highly questionable. One is on the verge of being a murderer. One female always questions every breath she makes. The others somewhat enable the bad behavior and bullying abilities. And you seriously want to just send all of these people to a desert. Not only do they summon a giant vampire freak monster, but they also developed superpowers reminiscent of MHA, My Hero Academia, for you who unfortunately may not be that much into manga or anime, which is sad, but you still have time. Things start going to hell as the monster starts eating people, as the bullied geeks get powers they want to use against their human tormentors, as inept officers pop up to find out what is happening, and as teenage hormones roar and rage. So what did I expect from this book? I expected somewhat outcast and noble children gaining powers, not being little psychos, and taking time to figure out what was happening and how. When I consider what I expected, though, it may have been a little too much, considering these children live in the middle of nowhere in US, and they're like from a very tiny town, and I don't know. I had hopes. What I got was a massive confusion. All of these children are unlikable, stupid adults, and bored aliens. And that's not really what I had signed up for in my heart. The book ended up being a 3.7 out of 5 for me. And under my mess section, I complained about the irresponsible parents of bullies. Parents, please don't allow your children to be bullies. If teachers are telling you that your child is being a bully, or if another student or another parent has mentioned that your child is being a bully, take some time to help fix that behavior, because you don't want that to end up in some calamity if one of their schoolmates gets magical powers from an alien grimoire and decide to come after your child and burn your child, or like freeze your child or flip your child off flying into space. You don't want that to happen to your child. So take some time to not let them be bullies. Although the narrator did an excellent job, the characters were all unlikable to me, and the detectives were a waste. Must Love Books by Shauna Robinson. Nora, the woman with whom I could not really empathize, which was sad, but I just couldn't, is hell-bent on making decisions that do nothing for her mental health or well-being. Disillusioned by the publishing world, she is on the brink, one choice away from being fired. Between battling depression, losing loved co-workers, financial difficulties, an uninspiring workplace, and annoying AF bosses, Nora can't see her way out. My issue here is that I believe she could have just left the job and found another one. I don't know, but maybe that would have been a little too simplistic. Anyway, she can't see her way out. When Andrew Santos appears, he seems like the answer to several prayers. Santos, the successful author, optimist, and hero, presents the gates through which Nora could walk if she manages to undo the knots she has made of her life, but not before making several other completely unnecessary knots. I expected a somewhat light-hearted but uplifting contemporary romance with some challenges, but clever decision-making and keen determination, because this woman was supposed to be an adult, right? And I thought that she would have been adulting. And adulting, not necessarily meaning that she's not making mistakes, but that she is aware enough about them and trying not to make these mistakes. What I got were lies, poor examples of professional behavior, and a weak MC. This turned out to be a 3.7 out of 5, and my greatest issues were the lie, and delay trope. I hate that trope. When someone decides that they're going to withhold information or blatantly lie about it, and they're giving several opportunities to correct their mistake, and they don't take it until the very end when it all has gone to hell. And I have an issue with that when it's one lie, but when it's several, it's completely unnecessary. Followed by making terrible choices, knowing you're making terrible choices and still making those choices. That upsets me. I don't understand the logic of that. And again, especially when it's more than one. 2, okay, but 6? The main character was somewhat boring, her life, the things, she was not it. And not only was she boring, but her choices, I don't know, I did not like Nora. I couldn't empathize with her. Next, Pennyblade by J.L. Worrad. Sink into the medieval vibe story of a spoiled, dim-witted, impulsive, and bratty elf described as sharp-tongued Kira, who ends up separated from her twin and royal Calaldra family by a series of events that unfold as we jump between past and present, and which became very annoying after a while, and honestly was semi-unnecessary when you figure out what actually happened, which is a disgrace. Kira is obsessed with the racial purity of her species and doesn't have much fondness for humans or half-breeds, but finds herself compelled by the Holy Pilgrim Church, led by a human, I forgot what they call them, but a human priestess female, to go on a hunt for a demon monster terrorizing the countryside, converting and occasionally killing the good, bigoted, racist people of the time. What a tragedy. That's who the monster was trying to kill, the bigots. We follow her and a ragtag team as they investigate the sightings and as her memories inform us of how she left her Isle of Perfection and ended up with the scum. So what I expected was a capable killing machine, elf, talented, that had deep convictions, obvious abilities, and magnetic charisma. And she was super cool. I expected to read and be oh my god, she's so cool. What I got instead was an entitled lost child on an adventure and upset for losing a loved one that they periodically gaslighted and dismissed. This book turned out to be a 3.5 out of 5, and my greatest gripes with it were, there is this description of her and some other women in the book, and It wasn't done in a way that you can really understand what these people look like, although I believe that you were supposed to understand what they look like. There were some terribly described spicy scenes that just ended up being unspicy because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Like, what are they doing? And then these were supposed to be basic things they were trying to do. She was annoying. She had this superior behavior, but there was nothing behind it. It's not like she was actually capable at something, you know, for you to be like, oh, okay, let's justify her absurdity just because she's cool. And the little obsession with purity of race that slid in there was very clannish / Hitlerish, and I was like, no. The Will and the Wilds by Charlie N. Holmberg. Why do I always get this name wrong? A story about a pitiful and helpless young woman, Enna, living near a dangerous fey misting forest, the Wildwood, her whole life while taking care of her father. Enna, who is a slight outcast, never bothers to learn how to physically protect herself. Although her father was a hero soldier but lost some of his faculties, I mean, I would have, if I'm living next to this forest, right, that has a bunch of creatures that come out that are highly dangerous, and one of them killed my mom, I would learn how to protect myself, especially if there are knives and swords in my house. I'm sure my father could have taught me a few things. You know, to me, this is logical. Anyway, back to Enna. She's taking care of her father who has lost some of his faculties. And because she has no abilities to protect herself, she needs saving by a misting creature that we're just going to call Maeki, who is a lying trickster and devourer of souls through kisses. And these aren't even that good of kisses. They're like kisses, you know? So I was like, you're giving up your soul for that? No, girl. And all of this is happening because she has something her father stole and the mistings desperately want back. I expected a mysterious town with an intricate setting, ongoing strife, and at least like named strifes, you know, like give me 3. We had 1. What I got was a tiny town with a somewhat senseless girl taking care of her dad, easily fooled and unwilling to think things through, plus not that good of examples of conflict between the wildings and the humans. This book turned out to be a 3 out of 5 for me, and my greatest gripes were that it was a highly frustrating and annoying read because the main character refused to think her actions through, and again she had opportunities to do so and she just like didn't. And she's supposed to be an adult. That's what bothers me. If she were like 15, I would have been like, maybe. I think the story also dragged on a little too long for the problem that existed. It was a little unnecessary. If the problem had been more complex or you had a series of issues, I think the length would have been okay. The old fae with the young mortal woman who is somehow so special from everyone else he's ever met over these hundreds of years. And bathing not really being a thing in this book was, again, a no, because she gets really dirty. And I'm like, take more baths. Now let me tell you about Saint Death's Daughter. When I saw the cover of this book, I was like, wow, what a gorgeous cover. When I read the description, I was like, I can't wait to read this. So delicious, so much potential. And then I read it and I was like, how could you do this to me, book? I thought we were friends. And again, it is such a remarkable storied potential, but the execution. Anyway, let me give you my overview of Saint Death's Daughter by C.S.E. Cooney. Miscellaneous Stones, I know, amazing name. Miscellaneous Stones is allergic to violence and death. As a necromancer, she is frail, dreadfully allergic, and unlikely to reach her 20th year before her weakness kills her off. Not only this, but her recently dead and forever asleep, important detail, parents left her and her psycho-murderous big sister with tremendous debt. debt that now sees them removed from their homes forever, potentially, but not before marriage proposals, visiting queens, several other debts, a capable man-bird, and a host of attempts at raising the dead. As Lainey passes through troubling stages in her life in which she behaves like she's 15 and not 23, her magic and bond to Saint Death will grow, and her fearsome ability as one of the last remaining stones will cause a royal city to quake and hearts to break. Okay, first of all, I was not expecting the excellence, the masterpiece that were the names of the characters in this book. I was not prepared for them. I was not prepared for unnatural stones, for miscellaneous stones. I was not prepared for these names. What I did expect was an intricate world, lots of delicious death magic, formidable foes and friends, and a captivating existence. What I got was an intricate world, little death magic, formidable foes and allies, useless time wasting, and an interesting world. This turned out to be an adjusted 3.5 out of 5 because I was so upset that it had dropped from like a 4 point something down to what my mind was like, this is a 2. But I was like, it's not really a 2. Let's adjust it to a 3.5. And let's go through my issues. Apart from the overall disappointment of the names being so amazing and the characters, especially miscellaneous. Again, if she had been 15 and that had been her behavior, I would have been like, okay. But she's 23. She had seen a lot of things, a lot of actions by her parents, by the world that she lived in with the whole psychosis. And yet her choices were not informed. But anyway, the issues I had that fell under my meh segment were the lack of her bathing and being extra dirty. There's a part where she's just rolling in filth and like she hasn't taken a bath for like a month, maybe like 3 weeks. And I'm like, why? And it bothers me because she's described as having dark skin, brown skin. And this is the third book that I've read where the brown skin character ends up in this like completely nasty and slovenly state. And again, I haven't read it. I don't remember reading this description for lighter skin characters in fantasy books if they end up in this nasty slovenliness. At least not how it's described in these previous books. So that was a no for me. I didn't like that. I was like, why? I also wish the author had done more into describing dark skin because we are told about, they had black skin, they had brown skin. But the author does an amazing job describing the plumage of some of the other characters who happen to be like part bird. And the descriptions, the colors are very vibrant. You get a sense of what it looks like when the sun hits it, what it's like. But then we just get like, the skin was brown, the skin was black, the skin was brown. And that really upset me because it's like you went through all of this trouble in describing these other things, but you can't make the effort to differentiate between these two dark-skinned characters. Please, author, do better. As I said before, there is a lot of time wasting that happens. And it's unnecessary because it doesn't really build up to as amazing a thing as you would hope, given all of the time wasting. I was very disappointed with that. It's like, just make your book shorter then. There was a lot of seeming fluff, like just fillers. It would be as if you're watching anime and you had like 3 episodes of fillers in the middle of what's supposed to be a very hyped arc. No. And you had all of these expectations. I had all of these expectations for miscellaneous stones, and they were wasted. I was not pleased. And those were the books that hurt my heart. It's very sad. Let me reiterate, though, that these books are good. They have unique perspectives. Whether it's the storyline, the characters, the writing, they do have that sprinkle of uniqueness that makes the journey interesting. I just think that they all had this potential to be 4.8s, 4.9s out of 5s, or 5 out of 5s, and they didn't live up to that. Like, they had everything when you started off. They had everything, but then along the way, the execution was flawed. If you have made it so far, I would love to hear which books recently broke your heart by not living up to their potential. As always, the comments are open to your views. Do share. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for checking in. If you don't already, please consider subscribing to my channel for more bookish discussions and convos. It was a pleasure having you. Take care. Bye-bye.